Hi, it's me, Vicky Marie. First thing I'm going to do is go through my housekeeping because I often forget. So while I'm not on a live stream, I can concentrate on it. Normally get distracted, don't I, by the live chat coming in. So just to let you know how you can support my channel. Well, the best way is to like this video, think about subscribing, maybe share it to someone who else you think might be interested in it. These are all free ways you can support my channel and help me carry on making the content that you seem to all be enjoying. I want to say thank you to all of you that have subscribed so far. It's growing gradually, my channel. I like the way it's grown even when I don't do videos about Nicola Bulley. I know Nicola Bulley is still a big thing that people have got on their minds. But, you know, I just keep going, try and bring you whatever content I think you'll find interesting. Some of it you will, some of it you won't. But thank you. So you're carrying on subscribing. My subscribers are growing, so thank you so much for that. The other way, if you want to go a little bit further, so those are the free ways you can help me, just by watching the video, liking the video, subscribing to my channel, and maybe sharing the video if you think you know anyone who might be interested in it. If you want to go a little bit further, of course, you can join, become a member. There's quite a lot of extra content on there, including some Nicola Bulley videos and photos, etc. Just a little bit extra, and that is €1.99 a month. It is like a one-off payment because if you join it for a month and you don't like it, you can cancel anytime. You're not signing up for a year, you're not signing up for 3 months, you're just signing up for a month, and if you don't like it, you can cancel. And that's a big help. And also, it's, you know, as the membership grows, I will be doing more on the membership channel that we can just do between us, so we don't get any trolls whatsoever, because we don't get many, to be fair, but occasionally, you know, hey, this is YouTube. What was the next thing? So yeah, so if you want to, you can join. You can always send me, if you only want to do a one-off donation, if you like, or you can send a super chat, super sticker, or a super thanks. And those, I think you choose the amount of money you want to send on those. And what was the last? Or you can buy me a coffee on Ko-fi.com. That again is a one-off payment. Just helps to go. All the things that you send me include, and also, of course, what I earn from YouTube, it all goes towards improving my equipment. I think you'll have noticed that my videos are a lot better now than when I first started. I have been gradually updating everything, and I will be carrying on doing that, and also going to places, as when I went to Praia in Portugal. I'm going somewhere else the end of July to visit a scene of a crime that you'll find very interesting. I'll let my members know always first where I'm going, and then I will be letting you know and doing some live streams from there and some videoing. Again, I think it's a place you'll find interesting. So that's that. And then, of course, the other way you can help if you're interested in learning Spanish. As you may know, in my other life, I'm a Spanish teacher. So on Amazon, you should be seeing now, this is my Break the Language Barrier Level 1 Spanish book. There are 5 levels. If you're interested in learning Spanish at home, I also do Zoom classes. But to be honest, the books are enough to learn at home, along with the YouTube. There are YouTube. I have another YouTube channel, which I'll show you probably in a minute. So these are the different levels. This is my other book, Confessions of a Spanish Teacher, Part 1. And this really is the story of how I came to Spain, my experiences with stalking and the coroner. And it's not all doom and gloom. Some bits of it are quite funny as well, I think. I hope. People say they are. So that's my books available on Amazon. Now, I think what I'd like to do then is just show you my other YouTube channel. I forgot the name of it then. Spanish with Vicky. Ooh, there's a Spanish with Vicky with a Y. Now, always remember that my Vicky is with an I. Let me go to it there. Found it there. So this is my, oh, hang on. So, this is my channel on, let me just shut myself up. Sure you're already sick of the sound of my voice. Yeah, so that is my Spanish channel. Spanish with Vicky, Vicky with an I, and if all the exercises in my book, in all my books, are backed up on there's a video so that you can practice your pronunciation, etc. There's also lots of videos on vocabulary, on various things. So if you're interested in learning Spanish. Right. Oh, and also you can subscribe on there. That would help me out as well. I do have quite a lot of subscribers on there. I can't remember exactly how many, more than I've got on here, but over 2,000 subscribers. But it has been going for a little bit longer than this one, but not that much longer. Because, yeah, what a lot of people don't know is I actually did start this channel. This isn't a channel that is, I haven't just started up with the Nicola Bulley Case. I started my channel several years ago, just didn't get a chance to do much with it because of various things that were going on. But I had the Spanish channel. I wanted to start up. I've always been interested in true crime. And so I started making some videos on true crime and putting them on my Spanish channel, but it didn't seem appropriate because obviously people subscribe to that channel because they want to learn Spanish, not because they want to know about true crime. And that's how, and then it was this year, funny enough, it was just total coincidence, really. I'd been watching about the Nicola Bulley case and I thought, oh, I'm going to do a video on that, not knowing, that it was going to sort of be so, that people were going to be so interested in that case, and it's all gone from there. But so obviously I do videos for anyone who doesn't know anything about me. You'll have worked out that I like to chat. That's why it's called Vicky Marie Chats, and I do waffle sometimes. But basically what you'll find on my channel, on this channel, is any video or talking about any subject that I think my chatters will find interesting, be it true crime, sometimes it's the news, or, anything that I think happens that people will be interested in. Okay, so that's that out of the way. Hope you're still with me. Okay, so what we're going to look at today is this Fitbit, Nicola Bulley's Fitbit. It's been a mystery, an enigma, a puzzle right from the beginning, isn't it? Hasn't it? There's people saying, oh, she didn't have the Fitbit on, then she did, then it was found with her, then it was. So much conflicting information. And then, of course, at the inquest, there's all this now. It turns out that it carried on emitting signals quite a long time after Nicola was presumed to be deceased. So that's created more problems, or, and for someone like me who doesn't really understand technology and is number dyslexic, so as soon as people start talking about numbers, I sort of just go into this white noise that I can't get my head around it. So I've sort of stayed away from the subject of the Fitbit because I didn't feel like I was competent enough, to be honest, to discuss it or talk about it. I'm not a runner, so I don't have a Fitbit. Or, a lot of people have Fitbits, don't they? Not necessarily runners, but people who are interested in exercise and that, and they use their Fitbits. I don't, so and that's why I've never got one, because I thought, oh, it's going to be one of those things. It's far too technical for me. It'll end up just in a drawer, like not used, because I won't understand how to use it. So that's really been why I haven't covered the Fitbit in any detail whatsoever from the beginning of this case. Anyway, yay, along comes a lady called Mickey who does know about this and has tested the fit, because I don't think the police at the inquest, was it DC Greenhalgh's his name was, the technological expert that was brought in to talk. I don't think he made it clear, did he? Certainly not to any normal person, why the Fitbit would have carried on emitting or carried on functioning. And I don't think it was any clearer after the inquest. If anything, it was less clear what role the Fitbit has played, or what the Fitbit can tell us, in this very sad case. And as I said, because it's not to me about trying to prove that somebody murdered Nikki, or it's not about conspiracy theory, or for me it's none of those things. I don't know what happened to Nikki, but that is my point. I don't know, and I don't feel that I know any more now since the inquest, and I don't feel it was proven at the inquest what happened to Nikki. It was all speculation. If she fell in the water, this would have happened. There was no, and I have real issues with it, because I don't know why there was no splash heard when there seemed to be quite a lot of people around. And I don't care how slight Nikki was. If a person falls in the river, you do hear a splash. I heard a splash when my little dog jumped in the lake, and I was miles away, and I heard him splash into it, and he's only 12 kilos. So I don't believe that. There was no splash. Of course, we had the scream that was heard. We've got the man in black, and they're all, maybe there's nothing in them, but they have to be proven. It's no good just saying, oh, well, yes, 2 people heard a scream, but it's irrelevant. Oh, yes, a witness saw a man in black twice, but it's irrelevant. Oh, yes, the Fitbit carried on beeping, long after Nicola supposedly died, but it's irrelevant. I honestly cannot. I've never known anything like this. Maybe it happens all the time, and just we've not been aware of it, because it's just that we've followed this case so closely. I know sometimes it's difficult to establish a cause of death, but that's what narrative verdicts are for, or open verdicts. Not Nicola's death on the internet has been just recorded as Nicola Bulley died an accidental death, as if there were no anomalies. And people can say, oh, well, the family this and the family that. And that's important. If they've decided to accept that, that's fine. And they have to accept what they've, they have to be happy with that decision. For me, as a woman, and with family who live in that area, who are women who walk their dogs by rivers, and I don't feel that it's been answered. This question has been answered to my satisfaction. How can people feel safe? I think the whole case has been dealt with badly from the beginning. That's my opinion. But of course, I don't live in that area. So what I'm going to be talking about later, after I've gone through Mickey's analysis of the Fitbit, because she then sent this analysis with a covering letter to the MP, who is, of course, as we've been looking at, your man Ben. And not only any Ben, is he? And he's not any Conservative MP. He is the Secretary of State for Defence. The Defence Secretary is a very, very, very prominent member of the Cabinet. There's not many posts higher than his. So, and Ben Wallace, hasn't spoken publicly about this case. Now, some people say, well, why should he? Well, because he's the MP for that area, and it's one of the most sort of high-profile cases that there's ever been. And some idiot said, oh, well, he sent a message to the family. I don't know if he sent a message to the family. You don't know if he sent a message to the family. And what difference does it make if he sent a message to the family? because this case does not only, I'm sorry, but unfortunately it does not only affect the family. This case has brought in so many wider issues, you know, about the efficiency of the police, about this thing about the menopause, perimenopause, domestic violence, possible, you know, all these things that it's brought up and created an issue, you know, and it's about sort of, it's come at a time when everybody's perception of the police, etc., is at an all-time low. That's why it's really sparked the interest there. It sparked. So, you know, he should have said something. He's the MP for that area. He's supposed to put people's minds at rest. You know, even Andrew Snowden, the police commissioner for that area, he's an idiot. Has he come out really and made people feel more secure? No. So, sorry, this is, I think it's all very important. And the Fitbit is a big part of it. So I'd say I've avoided it because I didn't really understand about the Fitbit. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to read it. I know Mickey doesn't mind because she came into my chat and she was talking about it. And she wants your help in getting the information that she's took a lot of time and effort. A lot, when I read this out to you, you'll see she's taken a lot of time and effort to sort of look into this, because she is a runner. She does know about Fitbits, etc., and it just struck her as strange. So she started doing some investigating, and this is what we are going to look at now. It's quite long, so I'll tell you now, if you're like me and you're not very good with figures and that, you may drift off every now and again. I'm sorry, but I'm just going to read it as it is. I thought there's no point in me trying to cherry pick bits from it, because I don't know which are the most important bits. So what I'm going to do is show you, present to you, and read out the whole thing. Let's see, I might just make sure it's coming up. Yep. And you can find it on the internet as well. I will give you the links if you want to just look at it at your leisure. Now, she called this "She Was Never There." Okay, so it is Mickey's opinion, but it's Mickey's opinion based on the information resulting from the tests that she made. So this is Mickey. She was never there. Okay. Oh, it's such a beautiful place, isn't it? Of course, we're coming into summer now, but I suppose that's the photo of the river. It's a very beautiful place. Okay, so are you ready? Might be a good time. I hope you've got your tea, your coffee, your vino, or whatever floats your boat, to listen to this and even, I mean, it sounds awful, even I found it interesting, and I am not a numbers person. This is what I'm trying to say. So if you are a bit more of a numbers person, a gadget person, then you will really find it interesting. Okay, she was never there. These are the words I've probably seen said the most about Nicola Bulley over the past 5.5 months. Words that thousands of people have either typed or liked or thought. Words we arrive at spent, defeated, baffled, after repeatedly turning our minds upside down and examining all the scattered pieces to find out the one thing we're looking for is still not among them. I mean, I think that's a very good description. You know, we go round in circles and it still don't get anywhere. After contorting our logical reasoning as well as our instinct and our empathy to make them fit to what we've been told, day and night chasing our tails with information that gaslights and insults the intelligence of the public. I really think that's true as well. Our role, our rights, our purpose. I could go on at length about what I think our purpose is, but I'll sum it up by saying to look out for one another, even when we think it might be too late. She was never there until she was. It's my hunch too, and the hunch has grown into something much stronger over the past 9 days. Following the inquest, I took what I've learned in my professional and personal life, many years working for technology and fitness companies, and 25 years as a competitive runner with a drawer full of once beloved heart rate monitors, watches, and wearables. See, this is what I'm saying. Well, mine would be in a drawer for a different reason because I haven't worked out how to use them. But this lady, you know, she spent 25 years as a competitive runner. She knows how Fitbits work and these kind of things. And I've applied it to the pixelated picture we've been given by the powers that be. My focus is on only one aspect of this case, the Fitbit. Now, I'm not reading out the next because I don't mention other channels on my thing, and I don't want to get into any comments about them. Yesterday, I completed a test on my Garmin Fenix 7S watch, which has a battery life of 11 days. It's clearly not a Fitbit Versa 4, the device Nikki had, but the test is designed to show that even a watch price nearly 3 times higher than the Versa 4, roughly £500 versus £179, around $1,000 US dollars versus 300, with a battery life that is almost twice as long, performs so poorly in cold water as to unequivocally, oh gosh, I can't say that word, unequivocally prove our point. Nicola was not in the river during the search. So this is the conclusion that Mickey's come to. Again, I'm not saying I believe that or I don't believe it, because I am telling you, presenting to you the conclusion that someone has come to because of the investigations that they've made. This latest test probably seems absurd to some, but if you've seen my Twitter, you know I've been fighting for Nikki alongside some truly brilliant minds across Twitter, YouTube, Substack and Facebook every day since late January. There's a lot I'd do for this beautiful woman and fellow mother. I think that, you know, you can see how people relate to Nikki. I never had the privilege of meeting, including going out and buying a Fitbit Versa 4 so I can test apples to apples. I think that'd be a very good idea, Mickey. And I don't want to tell you what to do, but obviously that makes a difference if you're actually testing the exact same thing. That might be next, but from what I've discovered, I don't know that it's necessary. Well, you know, you feel confident that you've done all the tech, but you know what people are like. I mean, the thing is, the only reason I'm reading this, because there's lots of things I read on Facebook or Twitter, etc., about Nicola Bulley. And to be honest, most of it's a whole load of rubbish. And even, you know, on YouTube channels, the things that they say, they've been rubbish. People who are supposed to be, you know, reputable YouTube channels, they do just, it's not true what they're saying. And they try and insinuate things and they try, I hate that. So if on my channel, I'll say what I think, but, you know, and if I've got proof for it, I'll say the proof I've got. So the reason that I've decided to show this is because, one, you're putting your name on it, it's not anonymous, and that's a good thing, because so many people as well do anonymous things, and then YouTubers pick it up and then do a video on it, and it's an anonymous post by someone that, you know, I could go on there now and do an anonymous post, and the next minute the YouTuber will pick it up and do a video on it as if it's true. I hate that. So that's the reason I can see that this lady has done genuine tests. She's putting her name to it. She's not afraid to put her name to it and be out in the open. Not, you know, just some, even a lot of YouTube channels, they're just anonymous. You don't know who they are. You don't even see the face on a lot of them. So I don't like that. So I like this because it's out in the open. So for now, so where she's got to for now, yesterday afternoon, I placed the Garmin on my wrist and made sure all of its battery draining settings, such as the always on screen setting, were off. As described on Twitter, I'd already been testing the Garmin off my wrist in a bowl of 4 degrees centigrade water that had been in the fridge since last Saturday night. So bearing in mind that they said that on the day that Nicola disappeared, the river temperature would have been around 4 degrees centigrade. I'd observed that while in the fridge, the Garmin, not tracking heart rate, was losing 12% of its battery life per day. In normal circumstances, sitting on my wrist tracking my heart rate 24/7, it only loses 9% a day, sometimes less. So I've estimated that it would last just over 8 days in the 4 degrees centigrade water. In other words, it would perform at about 72% of its normal capacity in cold water while not tracking heart rate, which would drain the battery life even further. But since we know Nikki's device was tracking heart rate, or attempting to, until February the 4th, I had to shift gears. What would happen in the cold water if the Garmin was tracking the heart rate? A quick tech recap. On both the Fitbit and Garmin, as I detailed on Twitter, heart rate tracking is done through LED sensors under the watch face. The lights shine against the wrist and detect pulse rate from the movement of our capillaries. It's not perfect technology, and Fitbits are known to pick up false heart rate readings off wrist, for example in gym bags or countertops, and on deceased people, not in water. More on that later. I submerged my hand and Garmin wearing wrist into, gosh, it must have been awful for you. I submerged my hand and Garmin wearing wrist into a bucket of 4 degrees Celsius water and left it in there for an hour, adding an ice pack to the bottom halfway through to make sure the water temperature held more or less steady. My heart rate was tracked consistently throughout with no breaks, though the heart rate was probably not as accurate as it would be in room temperature, non-liquid conditions. So this first leg of the experiment left my arm numb, but it left the rest of me numb too. I was actually in denial. This Garmin, which I've only had for 9 months, was now losing 1.5% of its battery per hour, meaning 36% per day, meaning that it would last 3 days in 4 degrees centigrade water on a living wrist. I then put the watch back in the fridge for a couple of hours. It held a charge a bit better during that time, going back to losing roughly 0.5% per hour, 12% per day. I thought I'd better do some more on wrist bucket time to see if this 36% battery loss per day statistic could really be true. I submerged my arm again for roughly an hour and a half, from 2:45 p.m. to 4:18 p.m, not counting a bathroom break. Here's a snapshot of what happened. So this is key. Here's a snapshot of what happened between 3:31 and 4:18 p.m. 3:31 p.m. and 4:18 p.m. with timestamps. So 46% battery life at 3:31 p.m. Okay, so this is the, she's got 4, you can see on the photo. Just make sure you can see that. Yeah. Gosh, I've lost where I was now. Yeah, so 46% at 3:31 p.m. And then it goes on to give all the details. 45% battery life at 4:18 p.m. And some notes I took about the battery drop between 2:45 p.m. and 4:17 p.m. Sorry, just have some water. The battery drop between 2:45 p.m. and 4:17 p.m, which didn't happen at a completely steady rate. 2:45 p.m, battery 48%, 3:02 p.m, battery 47%, 3:30 p.m, battery 46%, 4:17 p.m, battery 45%. These 4 stats above actually work out to a 2% drop per hour a staggering 48% drop per day. But since it didn't drop as quickly from 330 to 417, I decided to average it out to 1.5%. Again, still a loss of 36% per day. So if my watch with a consistent 11-day battery life while tracking HR would only last a little over 3 days on a wrist in 4 degrees centigrade water, what does that say about Nikki's, a device with an official battery life of 6 days, according to Fitbit? The Garmin's battery is performing at 27% of its typical power on my wrist while in 4 degrees centigrade water. Given that statistic, I'd estimate that Nikki's Fitbit, if it lasted 8 days normally, that's being generous, would perform similarly, let's say 27% optimal power as well, even though it has an inferior lithium polymer battery. Given that, the battery would last about 2 days in the river wire. So that's the conclusion she's come to from all that analysis. As I mentioned in my original Twitter thread, the Garmin's lithium-ion battery is larger and lasts longer than the Fitbit's lithium polymer battery, a big reason for the difference in price point. And the same goes for Apple Watch coroners, the latest model of Whoop et al. Lithium ion and longer battery life. So you can see this lady, she knows about the Fitbit. She knows. She's she knows as much about that as I know about Spanish. So she's an expert. That's been her life. Through her life, she's had reason to know about these things because of her career as a runner. So she has to be taken into account. So this is a technological advantage of lithium ion that's widely known by watch and wearable companies and others. And here's another really important thing to know. My body temperature, combined with the temperature of the water, gave a temperature reading that fluctuated between 11 degrees centigrade and 12 during the 4 centigrade bucket immersion. Here's a picture I took, which shows 11 centigrade, and before that the room temperature reading in the hours yesterday morning when I'd taken the watch out the fridge and briefly put it on my wrist to try and warm it up for a couple of hours because the buttons and screen had frozen and I needed to view them to check the battery level. So here's the photo. So imagine how the battery would do on a person that was no longer living, where the temperature on the Fitbit would, in a matter of hours, drift down to match the temperature of the wire, a purported 3.6 degrees centigrade on January the 27th. Would the Fitbit even last 2 days? It might only last 1 day. What can we glean from this besides she was not in the river during the search? How do we understand this in the wider context of things? Well, again, I'm only going to focus on the Fitbit. There are just too many other confusing, misleading and flat out unbelievable things about this case for me to consider it all without my head exploding. So let's first talk about what Fitbit, the company, says. And it's interesting this because, this is her expertise, and that this is brilliant for me because this is my least expertise, the Fitbit. So to hear her talking about it like this and putting it in even I can understand it, and if I can understand it, believe me, anybody will be able to understand it. So Fitbit has given conflicting statements about the Versa 4. They have told me via email that this particular device has a water lock feature that would disable heart rate in water. However, the manual and other comments from Fitbit suggest otherwise. Thank you to mroshi13 on Twitter, as do their own statements. They told me 2 days ago that it's pretty common that customers call us about heart rate tracking inadvertently staying on in water. Or is it because of the flow of the water? See answer to question 3. So there's these questions. Does the Versa 4 switch off the LED heart rate sensors automatically in water? No, the LEDs won't switch off, but with the water lock feature, the heart rate reading does not show, and any minute you spend swimming will be equal to 1 active zone minute. 2. Would it also switch off heart rate in the shower or the bath? No. You must enable water lock before getting the device wet, because sometimes the water could act as a button press. 3. Is it possible for heart rate monitoring to remain on in water accidentally? Yes. In fact, it's pretty common that the customers call us reporting that the water is acting as a press. Number 4. Versa users have reported that they are able to get HR activity for their swims after the swim when syncing to the app. How is this possible? That is because they did not activate the water lock. We hope this helps. Sincerely, Leva and the Fitbit team. So these were the answers she actually got from Fitbit. They also say on their website that it's not possible to disable heart rate tracking on the Versa. And she's got this photo here. How do I turn on heart rate tracking on my Fitbit device? It's turned on automatically. If you turned it off, turn it back on, open your device, open the settings app, etc. And then it says at the bottom, note that you can't turn off heart rate tracking on Fitbit Sense, Fitbit 2, Fitbit Versa 3 or Fitbit Versa 4. None of this actually matters because we know that Nikki's Versa 4 was trying to track heart rate until February the 4th because it obtained phantom readings until that date. We have to work backward and figure out how is that and why. We know that Fitbits have shown intermittent heart rate spikes when off users' wrists, not in water. Here's an example of the data from a man whose Charge 4 recorded high heart rate spikes in his gym bag. And she got this, the source is Fitbit community forums. So look, so this guy saying, my Charge 4 does the same thing. I can't wear my device at work, so it sits in my gym bag in the car during the day. But there's still, there's still some movement. We know that Fitbits have given heart rate readings on deceased users, including several hours after their official time of death and when their bodies were touched, for example, hugged or moved. Here's a couple of examples. Yeah, so then these are quite sort of strange, aren't they? So it seems like an odd question, but my mother-in-law recently passed and we checked her Fitbit, which registered several large spikes for several hours after her death. When she had not been moved, she was waiting to be taken to the funeral home. I assumed when the heart stopped, the Fitbit would stop. We also noticed this happening in her short burst for several days afterwards. Perhaps how they stored the Fitbit until we picked it up. Has this happened to anyone? If this is picking up a heart rate when there is none, why? No, that would have completely freaked me out because you'd be thinking, was she really dead? My father-in-law, 81 years old, died at 10:52 and we can see his heartbeat go up and down and up again and stop at that time. We arrived 5 hours later to view the body, and you can see that while my wife is hugging her dad, his pulse starts again for 20 minutes. First at a high rate again, then steadying to normal and then stopping, and then a weird single line, and then it was removed from his wrist. Weird? Any similar stories? That's quite scary, isn't it? Maybe the spiritual part of me feels like they're sort of on their way going and then someone comes and hugs them like that and they come back a little bit, but I don't know. Who knows? We know that Nikki's heart rate had a spike of around 100 BPM at 9:22 on January the 27th. So this was this spike, and that this was attributed to cold water shock at the inquest, as we know. But it could have been, and I agree, it could just as easily, and in her opinion, much more easily, and mine to be honest, be attributed to being startled, assaulted and or abducted. Something happened. And then 9:20 and 39 seconds to 9:20 and 42 seconds in the morning. 3 further handset pings placed Miss Bulley around the bench close to which Willow would later be found. Unusually, it is the last handset data for 10 minutes. Now, also, that bench is nowhere near the edge of the water. So if she was there, there's no way she fell into. Nobody will ever convince me that she fell into that water, I'm afraid. She was either pushed. If she went into the water on that day, she was either pushed in or she did jump in, because there's no way, and I don't believe she jumped in, but there's no way, in my eyes, you could just fall unless you were standing right on the edge. And Nikki was not silly. She knew it would be dangerous to stand right at the edge. Anyway, at 9:22 was the heart rate data gathered by the Fitbit, and that's where it peaked at 100 BPM. At 9:23.05, Penny Fletcher is caught on her home CCTV leaving Wyeside Caravan Park at the bottom of Allotment Lane and walking through an area of scrub downstream from the bench. We know there were no further steps taken on the Fitbit after 9:30 on January 27th, at least according to what DC Keith Greenhouse said at the inquest. But this does not mean that she went in the water, especially in the light of the battery research above. It means, in my belief, that she was incapacitated and abducted, and or the device was removed from her wrist around that time, remembering that Fitbits can pick up false heart rates when not on wrist. Well, it's a good a theory as any that we've been presented with. We know that her heart rate showed further spikes after 9:33, as stated by Coroner Adeley in his closing statement. So here's what he said. This explains the continued heart rate monitoring of the Fitbit watch after the point that Nikki was known to be missing and in the water. At 9:22, there was a significant spike in the heart rate, with a substantially increased heart rate being a feature of cold water shock. Subsequent spikes were noted. See, the subsequent spikes were noted, but then that's not delved into. But the Fitbit Versa 4 also monitors the reliability of the data with confidence levels of 0 to 3. Consequently, although there are heart rate elevations after 9:33, this is when Nikki was in the water. Of course it was. And the readings are considerably less reliable due to the temperature of the water, the cooling effect on Nikki's skin, and the interference with readings as the water passed between the watch and the wrist. Jack and Ori. Then she goes on to talk about another guy. I'm not going into that because, as I say, I'm here. I'm highlighting what Mickey's said because I'm happy with it. I don't really want to go into other people's things. So the media have been. Oh no, so I'm going down. Were picked up after 11:48 on January the 27th and until February the 4th. These were given a confidence level lower than 3, I believe 0 for all but unconfirmed. Greenhouse said these readings until February the 4th could be due to water passing between the watch and the wrist. We know that Greenhouse was able to obtain 9 days of detailed data down to 15-minute increments from Nikki's Fitbit after her body was found on February the 19th. I question how this was possible, as the manual claims that the Versa 4 can only store 7 days worth of detailed data on the device itself. So actually in the manual, she quotes from the manual, Versa 4 stores your data, including daily stats, sleep information, and exercise history for 7 days. See your historical data in the Fitbit app. So recall that friend Emma told us in the media on February the 4th that the device hadn't been synced since Tuesday, January the 24th. I'm not really quite sure how she knew that, or did the police tell her that? So my only conclusion here is that one, Google, the owner of Fitbit, was somehow able to get Lancashire Police more than 7 days of data off this device, or more sinisterly, the Fitbit was synced to Nikki's phone again somewhere between January the 28th and February the 19th. We know that the Fitbit was not mentioned as part of Nicola's physical description until Friday, February the 3rd, 1 week into the search. At the press conference led by Superintendent Sally Riley. Now, because the thing is, by then, this is when they were realising there was more to this than met the eye. Because this is my personal opinion, is the whole thing was cocked up right from the beginning. Sorry, a bit of water. Perhaps it was mentioned amongst, where have I gone? Perhaps it was mentioned among searchers, professionals or friends, but it did not appear in the police's missing posters that went up on January the 27th, and it was not mentioned anywhere by the media or on social media until February the 3rd after the press conference. Believe me, I looked. People wondered across social media if she might have been wearing a smartwatch of some kind, but no one had any confirmation of a pale blue Fitbit until February the 3rd. On February the 3rd and thereafter, tweets about the Fitbit start to appear. So this is the missing poster from January the 27th. Now she says, note the language of last seen today and no mention of the Fitbit. Yeah, I think this poster is interesting because have you seen Nicola Bulley, who has gone missing from home in Inskip? Well, she didn't go missing from home. But anyway, Nicola, 45, was last seen at around 9:15 today on the footpath by the river, etc. She's described as white, 5'3" tall, with light brown shoulder-length hair. She speaks with an Essex accent. She was last seen wearing a long black gilet jacket. Now, have they ever clarified that? Because didn't they say it was a long jacket? And then when we saw the CCTV, it's actually not ankle length, it's just below the knee. But anyway, that's never really been clarified. Her hair was tied into a ponytail. Yeah. Immediately prior to going missing, she was walking her dog, described as a brown-coloured spaniel, although the dog has since been found close to where we believe Nicola was last seen. And I've seen the interview where Sally said the dog was found an hour later. So, all this seems strange to me. There are so many inconsistencies. That's what I'm thinking of Ben Wallace. Inconsistencies. So we hope this might jog the memory of anyone who saw her around the same time and who might have information about where she was going. So all that time she was in the river, apparently, even though the police waders went in and everybody went in there and looked, all that time she was in the river. Okay, here's a physical description that made the rounds in the media prior to the February 3rd press conference. Described as white, 5 feet 3 inches tall with light brown shoulder-length hair. She was last seen wearing a long black gilet jacket with a hood. She was in black jeans and olive green ankle wellies and her hair in a ponytail, etc., etc. We know that the last recorded data on her Fitbit was on Saturday, February the 4th, the day that a friend first made statements to the media about the Fitbit. Emma told the Sun the Fitbit had not been synced since Tuesday. The police are trying to find other ways to get information from it. And then when asked for comment in the same article, Lancashire police say they have no info to give out on the Fitbit. And on that day, it stops recording data. Either the battery died or it was turned off. We know that on February the 5th, a day later, Fitbit officially made a comment in the media about helping with data wherever legally possible. And they said a spokesman for Fitbit confirmed that under defined and specifically prescribed legal procedures, data may be requested and provided in support of law enforcement requests. We know that the Fitbit was found with Nicola's body on February the 19th, and this was officially confirmed at the inquest. Then she goes on to say the family friend's preferred media source, grisly or ghastly true crime. Sorry, I know I shouldn't say that, I can't help it. Was told on March 13th when they provided her with a 10-second ring camera clip of January the 27th that Nicola's Mercedes keys were found in her coat pocket with her body. The friend did not mention the Fitbit. Why not, though? It's such a crucial source of data. Later, I believe in April or May, the friend Heather confirmed via Facebook groups that the Fitbit had also been found on Nicola, and we heard nothing more until the inquest. For now, I don't think I need to say anything more. Hopefully the research speaks for itself, but if anyone has further questions about any aspect of the Fitbit, I'd be more than happy to answer them in comments here, on Twitter or via email. Now, and this is her Twitter and her email, and I will put those in the description box as well. Now, so that is a very that's taken some time. So she's really dedicated, really believes, that that was necessary to compile all that. So that was the first thing. Now, since then, she's gone on to write a letter to when she's found out that Ben Wallace, the Defence Secretary, is in fact the local MP for that area. She has written him an email. Now, unfortunately, she's not a constituent in that area, as I am not. But I'm going to read you the letter that she sent to him. It's an open letter, so she wants publicity for this, so I'm not doing anything wrong in that. She wants me to send this to a wider audience. And also, you'll see what she would like and what I would like, because I don't even live in the UK, so I don't even have an MP. But if you live in that constituency, that and you're not, and obviously if you're happy with the way things have turned out, then you don't need to write a letter. But then you probably won't be watching this right now. To write a letter to him, if you're a constituent, he will listen. He has to listen. I could write a letter to him and he's going to give me the same answer that he's given Mickey. Now, but even if you don't live in the same area, if you do live in the UK at least, and you have an MP, write to your MP or write to Suella Braverman. I will put again all the emails, or the coroner. My problem is I don't live in the UK, and I have written to these people, and I just say about family that I have there, and I do have family in that area, and I've asked them to write as well. But so what I'm saying is the more people that do write that are actually from the area, then the better. I know people don't like to have their names open sometimes. People are a bit wary about writing, but that's what your MP is there for, to answer any questions that you might have. That's what he's elected for. You pay his wages. You literally do pay his wages. And don't forget, this is the guy that claimed £180,000 of expenses, just expenses, on top of the £60,000 he was earning at the time. So Ben Wallace, he has to listen to you. Okay, so this is the open letter that Mickey sent. Yesterday, I wrote to Ben Wallace, the MP for Wire, as well as the Secretary of State for Defence, with my Fitbit research. And today I got a response back from the man himself. He said he would love to help me with my concerns, but due to the fact I'm not a Wire constituent, he can't help me specifically. So I'm calling on Wire constituents and other concerned UK citizens to act. Now, what I'm going to show you now is the constituency. Because you may not, it's not only St. Michael's, you may not know that you are one of his constituents. So let me just check that's coming up. Yeah. So this is the constituency. It's in Lancashire. It's right on the edge here. and it includes Thornton, Poulton, Leffield, Garstang, St Michael's-on-Wyre, Catterall and Fulwood. So some parts of Preston, not the whole of Preston, Preston North. So it's the seat of Wyre and Preston North. Yeah, current MP is Ben Wallace of the Conservative Party, who is currently the Secretary of State for Defence. And he's been your MP there for quite a long time. Though it looks, according to projections, that he might not be your MP in the next general election. He'll probably go off looking for a safer seat. So as I explained just today in the live stream that I did, he came into that constituency with an 8% majority, so it wasn't a safe seat, but then the boundaries were changed, and in the next election he won a 31% majority, and since then it's been a safe Conservative seat. But according to projections currently, I mean that can all change tomorrow if something happened, currently he's projected to become a Labour seat next time with a massive swing, so we'll see. But yeah, so it includes Cadley College, Garrison, Greyfriars, Preston Rural East, Preston Rural North, Sharrow Green, and from Wyre, Brett Brock, Cabus, Calder, Carleton, Catterall, Garstang, Great Eccleston, Hambleton and Stallermine with Stainall, I've never heard of most of these places, Hardhorn, High Cross, Norcross, Stainer, and of course, St Michael's-on-Wyre. Yeah. So, now I'm going to go back to the letter. Okay, so she says, I'm calling on Wyre constituents and other concerned UK citizens to act. It's time for us to gather all the research and data that we have on Nicola's case, not just related to the Fitbit, bring them to the attention of MPs, the IOPC, the College of Policing, investigative journalists, anyone else who has a voice big enough to turn our concerns into action. Below is a PDF of my opinion on the Fitbit, so far just sent to Wallace and the IOPC with my more detailed research linked at the bottom of the PDF. Download the PDF. Well, I'll give you a link to this so that you can download it. Here is an image from the downstairs. Let's see. Okay, so I'm going to read you the letter that she sent. An examination of the Fitbit data used at Nicola Bulley's inquest. It's not as long. It's like a summary. It's still quite long, but it's not as long as the other thing that I read out. It's a summary of all that information. I'm a professional writer and director with many years of experience in the technology sector, but first and foremost, I'm a concerned member of the public. I've been following the Nicola Bulley case since Miss Bulley first went missing, and I have conducted relevant research on the case related to my professional expertise. I have serious concerns about the police findings during this investigation as it relates to Nicola's Fitbit device, as well as the inquest proceedings and verdict, which incorporated data from her Fitbit. My research following the inquest has led me to believe that what happened to Nicola may have been a criminal matter and that this possibility must be considered. My biggest concern is that Miss Bulley's Fitbit data was referenced at the inquest as helping to prove that she entered the water at the River Wyre, where she is alleged to have quickly died by asphyxiation due to cold water shock. Having worked for technology companies in director level positions, I can say with certainty that the Fitbit data shared at the inquest does not help to make this case at all. In fact, the data suggests that neither this device nor Nicola entered the water at all on January the 27th or for days or weeks thereafter, and that the device may have been temporarily removed from Nicola's wrist before being found on her body on February the 19th. I will outline the research behind these possibilities below. Now, I'm not going to read that because the rest of it now is basically a summary of what we've already read. So let's go to the bottom. So in summary, so she gives him all the, like a summary of the details that she gave us that I read out to you. In summary, I feel strongly that the inquest made erroneous assumptions about Nicola's Fitbit data to tell us that she unequivocally went into the water on the morning of January the 27th and rejected, disregarded, or failed to explain data that could well prove that she never went in the water at all that morning or for days or weeks afterward. That inquest, all the evidence that was presented at that inquest was really just almost chosen to sort of prove what, I mean, but what's ridiculous about it's like the webcam footage of the PC plotter, I can't remember his name. What was his real name? Anyway, I can't remember, but of him going into the water and trying to make this video to prove that Nicola went into the water, it did exactly the opposite. To me, it just proved there's no way she fell into that water. She might have been pushed into the water. That's the only way. But then we've got the Fitbit. So, as I keep saying, it's not just one thing. If it was just the Fitbit, but there's so many other things. There's the screens, the man in black, things that haven't been explained. Now it's the Fitbit. There's so many things that aren't explained. There's the welfare check. There's the concussion she had the next day when she had to go to the hospital. The bruises that were found on the body. You can't, how many, did they have to find somebody literally? You find, to the Lancashire police, they find someone lying in a room with a dagger sticking out of him and they say it's suicide, do they? I mean, come on. Anyway, she says, in summary, I feel strongly that the inquest made erroneous assumptions about Nicola's Fitbit data to tell us that she unequivocally went into the water on the morning of January the 27th and rejected, disregarded, or failed to explain data that could well prove that she never went in the water at all that morning or for days or weeks afterward. Below are the questions that I believe need to be re-examined and more thoroughly answered by Lancashire Police in conjunction with the other evidence in this case. 1. How did Nicola's device exceed its official battery capacity by 2 days while submerged in 3.6 degree water? Cold water shortens lithium battery life in wearables by as much as 2 to 5 days and as much as 73%. It does not lengthen it. It is pretty much inconceivable that this device could record data including heart rate for 8 days and be fully recoverable when found. 2. Was the Fitbit and its owner in the water on January the 27th or in the days thereafter? The absence of steps after 9:30 a.m. on January the 27th and spikes in heart rate around that time cannot prove that Nicola fell in the river that morning. The absence of steps and presence of heart rate readings until 11:48 on January 27th, as well as additional intermittent heart rate readings until February the 4th, could be due to other factors. Namely, 1, the device was removed from Nicola and moved locations, picking up false heart rate readings from its surroundings until February the 4th, or 2. Or 2, the device picked up false readings after the death of its wearer in a location on land while still on Nicola's wrist. And then she tells him where he can find that up, the full report that she made that I've just read out to you. Sincerely, Michaela Lanier, July the 7th, 2023. So there you go. Now, as I say, I'm going to share these links so that you can download the PDF. So what she's saying, are you a wire constituent? Send Mr. Wallace an email and attach the PDF, as well as any other information you think is relevant to Nicola's case. And I would urge you to do that. I unfortunately cannot do that because I don't live in that. I don't even live in the UK, so I can't even do that to my MP. But I would recommend that even if you don't live in the area, if you want to make a difference, you can send this to your MP, because your MP has still got to look at it. So these are just their little things, but if enough people do little things, it turns into a big thing, doesn't it? So, well, thank you, Michaela, for going to all that trouble to make those tests, etc., and explaining to a sort of technology idiot like me in terms that even I can understand. You know, I get a bit lost with the numbers sometimes and that, but I think you explained it very, very clearly, and that's important, isn't it? And sorry, I just have a bit more water. I hope if you're one of my viewers, I hope you're still with me. Thank you for listening to it all. It is important. And yeah, really consider, especially if you live in that area, writing to Mr. Wallace or writing to your own MPs. Look for all the links in description. I will be seeing you very soon in the next video, as always. I want to look at the Home Office pathologist and some of the issues that I have with her reputation and her competency. And as I say, we put all these things together. The inquest, it was so wrong. I was so disappointed. And the more time goes on and I think about it more, the more disappointed I feel. And I think at the end of the day, this is important for many, many reasons that these points are brought to light. And if there's nothing to hide, there should be no problem in bringing these points to light, should there? If there's nothing to hide, if everything was done properly, and Lancashire Police can prove that it was, etc., then why is it not all being brought to light? Okay, I think I'm going to lie down in a dark room now, because that was quite a lot of talking. Remember to always live and love so wisely. Please like and subscribe this video if you feel like it. And yeah, look after yourself, because you are the most important thing. If you don't look after yourself, you can't look after anyone else. And you're the only person you can rely on to look after you as well, because sometimes people with the best will in the world, they don't look after you. And I'll see you very soon in the next video. And as always, may your God go with you. Thank you.